So we are going to get going, everybody. My name is Kelsey Doom, and I'm the President and CEO at the Brookings Area Chamber of Commerce. These forums are hosted by the Public Affairs Committee of the Brookings Area Chamber of Commerce, which is made up of over 20 individuals from different industries around Brookings, all of which are very valued members of ours. So this is the second in a series of 3 candidate forums that we're going to be hosting. The municipal election is April 13th, so make sure you are registered and get out to vote. I believe you have until the 29th to get registered. And the last forum, the City Council forum, will be Saturday, April 3rd at 9:30, and that will be a 90-minute forum. Tonight we have a 60-minute forum, and I'll give a little instruction on what we're going to be looking at. But first, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors who made all of this possible. So our premier sponsor is the Carrot Seed Kitchen Company, owned by Kirsten Jesdahl in downtown Brookings. They are invested in the success of Brookings, and thanks you for participating in our local governmental process. The Carrot Seed in downtown Visit the Carrot Seed in downtown Brookings for cooking tools, knowledge, and culinary inspiration with an extra helping of community engagement. And for those that know Kirsten, that is true. She's awesome. So this forum will be moderated by Angela Boersma, who is the owner of Ideate Architecture and serves as a Brookings County Commissioner. We are also joined here by our 4 lovely candidates for school board. We have Kelly Books, Deborah DeBates, Jackie Johnson, and Jade Withers. So welcome all of you for joining us. So this will last 60 minutes, give or take a minute or two. Each candidate is going to have 2 minutes for opening statements before answering questions submitted to the chamber, and we organize those by topic. I believe we had over 30 questions come in, so thank you all so much for your questions that you put in. They were great. Angie and I in the Public Affairs Committee kind of went through and organized by theme and topic, and we have a really great forum lined up for you all to be very informative, so thank you for your participation in that. After the forum, we are going to send all of the questions that we received to the candidates in case they want to do any Q&A on their social media page or anything like that. And in an effort to get to as many questions as we can, we're going to be limiting answers to 1 minute. When the candidates have 10 seconds left, you'll see me holding up a pink Post-it that just says 10 seconds. And then when I hold up the time Post-it, candidates should be done speaking. If not, that's where our friend Angela comes in, and we will move on to the next question. Candidates will have 1 minute for closing statements at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to our moderator, Angela Boersma. Angie, I'll let you take it away. Angie, are you having some technical difficulty? Darn it. Okay. So while you and I figure that out, Angie, why don't you're sending me a text? Good job. So I will, we'll just start with Jade. I believe you are going to be starting with opening remarks. So why don't you go ahead, Jade, and I will work with Angie on the back end.
Well, thank you, Kelsey. All of this, these virtual meetings are definitely a learning curve for all of us the last year. I thank you to the Public Affairs Committee and the Chamber for organizing this event and for the Carrot Seed, your sponsorship. I think we all appreciate an opportunity to share our ideas and introduce who we are. I grew up here in Brookings. I joke, once a Bobcat, always a Bobcat. So I graduated from Brookings High School in 2003. I am married and have 3 kids, 2 of whom are in the school district currently. And it's been a really great year. I'm so proud of the Brookings School District for being able to stay open and have our kids in school this year. You know, the reason that I decided to step up this year is just over the last year, I think there's been, a lot of us have taken an interest in local politics, and that includes myself. And I've always been somebody who wants to be more engaged in the community. I've been a business owner here for 13 years. And so just taking that to the next level, I really saw a lot of people wanting to be heard this last year. And that's really what I want to bring to the school board, is just to continue that tradition of an open dialogue and finding ways that we can best serve our learners. And I really see the function of the school board is to serve a few different pockets of people, that being not only the taxpayers, but our learners, our educators, our families. And I just want to create a culture where all those parties can come and feel like they're being heard and being part of the process. So I've spent the last several weeks just getting in touch with people who have lived here forever and have a lot of knowledge. And I've just been soaking up everything I can to learn about how we as a board can move, continue on what we're doing and grow upon what we're doing to continue to make Brookings such the great place that it is. So thank you.
That was just 5 seconds shy of your 2 minutes. Congratulations. Let's see here. I'm getting the order of who's next. So Deborah, I believe you are next. So Deborah, why don't you do opening statements here? And Angie's going to jump off and jump back on and see if we can't fix this issue. So sorry about that, everybody, but Deborah, take it away.
Sure. Well, first of all, I too want to thank the Chamber and the Carrot Seed for sponsoring tonight's forum. I really appreciate that. And it's a great opportunity for people in our community to hear from the candidates for school board. I want to begin by just sharing that education and youth development have been my life's work, and they continue to be. I graduated from SDSU, and upon graduation, I was hired at Canton High School in Canton, South Dakota, and I taught there for 17 years, teaching family consumer sciences and German. And during that time, I had several student teachers, and that led to a career change where I wanted to be helping prepare teachers for the career that I really enjoyed and loved. And so I returned to SDSU and Iowa State to get the degree work that I needed to become a teacher educator. And I served in that capacity at SDSU for over 20 years. During that time, I supervised lots of student teachers. And so I had the opportunity to go out to school districts across the state. And that gave me a chance to see innovative teaching practices, to learn some of the challenges that schools and teachers are facing, and to observe students in the classroom, which was a lot of fun. And I still continue to do that pre-COVID, that was. As far as my work with youth development, I am a mentor with Brookings County Youth Mentoring, which I really enjoy. Started a small sewing group on Wednesday afternoons after school called Generous Hearts, because we donate our items that we make to area nonprofits. I've been involved in teaching activities for kids whose parents are taking English classes. I work with FCCLA and FFA, judging, interviewing leadership candidates. I was a 4-H leader and worked at 4-H camp for 20 years. But probably my most unique youth development opportunity or experience was I was a house mother at Farmhouse Fraternity for 20 years. And so I worked with young men between the ages of 18 and 22 who still call me mom, I guess, to this day. So that's a little bit about my background. I have served the last 3 years on the board. I love the opportunity to further education and youth development in our Brookings School District. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Deb. And hello, since I had technical difficulties even starting the meeting, guys. We're so good at getting on here punctually and without flaws that I had to start making the first mistake. So everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. I took care of that for you. We're good. So we're going to move on to the next opening statement. Next up, we'll have Jackie.
Hello, everyone. First of all, again, I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Carrot Seed for being our sponsor. It's really great that we can still do this underneath circumstances going on within our world and within our city and everything. I would like to just say how well I do think that the school district has done this year, navigating COVID. It's definitely a new thing that we all had to deal with. And I really think our kids have stepped up to the challenge and they have done an awesome job. I mean, they've just done great. And again, I think it's awesome that, we in this state have been able to keep our kids in school, because that's a very, very important thing to me as a parent and to everybody else. We just really need those kids in school. So I moved to Brookings in 2004. I graduated from USD with a degree in health administration. So I know USD, everybody says something about that, but yeah, so my husband went to SDSU. We right now currently own a business here in town, and we have only had that for a couple years, but I also work at Brookings Vision Center. I'm a optometric assistant there, and I really enjoy that. I have been involved in youth a lot within the city. I taught dance for a couple years with my own company. I continue to teach dance with Madison Avenue right now, and I'm also a cheer and dance official for the schools, which was also another interesting thing to do this year with COVID. It was very interesting in how they handled that. And again, I think all the school districts throughout our whole state did a great job with that. You know, as an official, I felt very safe, and I think our kids felt safe, and they got to have their sports, which is also another important thing. So I really enjoy living in Brookings, and I really feel that we have a great school district here, and that's why we've decided, you know, to stay here and to raise our children here. I have 2 currently in the school district right now. I don't have one in high school yet, so I still holding out another year, but I just really want to thank everybody for being here, and I look forward to answering questions.
Thanks so much, Jackie. And last but not least, we'll move on to Jade. Sorry, Kelly, missed that. Screwed that one up. Thank you.
No worries. I echo everyone's thanks. I'm Kelly Books. I'm energized and passionate about pre-K-12 education. I'm a former teacher. My husband, Peter, and I have 2 little girls here, Stella, who's a 1st grader at Hillcrest, and Nellie's at the Fishback Center at SDSU. I'm running for the school board because I think I bring a set of experiences that will add to the intellectual diversity of the board and help us all continue to move forward together to elevate, challenge, holistically recover from kind of to the next normal, and then prepare for the future. The experiences I've had have stacked upon themselves, and it'll help me kind of sift through bravely, strategically, the decision-making process of being on the board. So I was a passionate, involved teacher in the Brookings districts for 8 years. I helped the district lead an accreditation process. I was the head coach for the Brookings Swim Club. I love athletics and I love activities. I started the Swim America lessons program in Brookings. I was one of the first teachers to investigate the mass customized learning that has been adopted amongst the schools. When I was in Flandreau for 1 year, I helped with a title funding change, and title funds are something that are a really big deal to our schools. I was recently asked to serve on the Master Comprehensive Planning Committee for the district and was a part of the high school investigation into the pathways model that they're now implementing. I currently serve on the East Central CASA board in Brookings, so giving voice to abused and neglected children in our system. And I'm part of the Brookings Economic Development Corporation Early Learner Task Force, and I serve on both my girls' PTA school support system. So why now school board? Well, my husband and I have committed our lives to education, our hearts, our energy. I'd be honored to serve in another capacity to continue to champion children in our community. I built a network of people around me that do this same work and support, and I just see no better investment of my time than deeply caring for the 3,365 children that are in the Brookings School District right now.
Thanks, Kelly. We're going to get started with a few different broad topics and questions as we dive in. The first question will go to Deb. Each of these questions, we've got several in the hopper. Like Kelsey said, we've gotten somewhere in the neighborhood of between 40 and 50 questions, I think. We tried to narrow it down. This first question, you'll have 60 seconds to answer. And again, Kelsey will pop up with a Post-it as necessary. So very first question, we don't pull any punches here. What are your first top 3 priorities if elected?
Okay, well, as a school board, we established some goals that we are working on. And so some of those are still a priority for me. One of those is our facilities. We've done a lot of talk about that recently at Madary and Hillcrest. Once Dakota Prairie was built, we need to have equity in our elementary schools. And so we want to have some of those same amenities at Madary and Hillcrest. So we're working on ways right now that we can plan for that and have the budget available for that. One of the things that I would like to see is more collaboration with the community. I think we've done a lot of things, but there's so many ways that we could utilize the community. I know at the high school with the career pathways concept, they've done internships, they've done apprenticeships. I love that. And I hope we can continue to do that. So that's one of the things that I would like to see continued. And then I'm still an advocate for smaller class sizes and maintaining a class size that's manageable for our teachers, because I think it's important both for the teacher and for the student to have those class sizes. And so we'll continue to work on that.
Thanks, Deb. We're going to move on. Same question to Jackie. What are your top 3 priorities if elected?
I do agree with Deb, as I think that our facilities in the Brookings community and the district, our school district, need to be up to date, and they need to be ready for our students. We're a very growing community, so as kids enter, we really need to be ready for them with the facilities. I also feel that in the last year or so, we've really dealt with virtual learning within our system, and I think that's something that I feel is how are we going to offer that next year, and how is it going to look, and if we do, those kind of things, and it affects us as parents too, and I think that's really something that we need to work with. I also feel that getting our community involved in these different decisions and those things are very important, because it affects everyone, and I really think we're as a board, we can work forward on those things.
Thanks, Jackie. Kelly, same question to you.
Sure. Yep. First, the people. What issues are playing out in real time for our students? I think I know maybe some of them: mental health, well-being, communication to families, social emotional learning, academic slides. So what's going on with our people? Second, growth. Our budget took a $500,000 hit because we had a lot of students not in the district. So how are we going to be the place where kids come to school and stay in school and retain our students? And then third, the philosophy of the Brookings district is awesome. It was developed in 1977, and it's perfect. It's great. We got to remove barriers and make sure we're hitting all the pieces of that philosophy.
Perfect. Thanks, Kelly. And last to you, Jade.
Well, I think the most pressing issue for me is just to make sure that we're getting our kids prepared to come back to the classroom next year, and what that looks like. I think even though we've had kids in the classroom or online classroom, whatever that looks like, I think we've lost an element of engagement from our students. And having a child that has unique learning needs myself, that's really important to me. I think the facility needs are definitely a high priority. Obviously, it's been a hot topic with the board, and I like what they've been doing so far. If you've been through Dakota Prairie, you can see how creative that learning environment is. And I think we need to make sure, like Deb said, bring that equity to all the schools to make sure we're meeting not only our current needs for our learners, but the emerging needs that are coming up. And then also just a better communication between the board and the community. I think we need to do a better job at bullet pointing what happens during the meetings so that people can easily see what's being discussed, and then they can easily provide input back. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. We're going to move on to the next question, and Jackie is going to start this one off for us. What would you consider to be a school board member's primary role and responsibility in the day-to-day of the functioning Brookings School District?
As a board member, I feel the day-to-day would be to definitely keep track of everything that's going on within the board. There's so many things that happen. We've kind of mentioned a lot of those things throughout these questions, the facilities, the making sure that we have, a budget, and that we stay on budget with that, so that, we can utilize that later and use it for things that our school needs. I also feel that, you need to be engaged, and you need to be able to answer questions that come around, and you need to be able to be there when people need you, and just support everybody else, and be able to be educated in what's going on around our community and what's going on within the school district. I think that has been very important this last year, to know, hey, what's going on and why are we doing this? And so as board members, we need to be kind of that place to say, this is why we're doing that. And I feel that, that's very important. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. And to you, Kelly, same question. What do you consider a school board member's primary role and responsibility in the day-to-day of the district?
I have more than one, so sorry, but yeah, serve, support, serve the stakeholders, elevate the thinking, steward the dollars, like Jackie said, be just great with that budget, to work on policy, not micromanagement, and then remove barriers for student and staff success.
We're working on that bulleted list function there, Jade. I love Kelly's list. Jade, next, same question to you.
Well, somewhat keeping with that, I think that it's the job of any board really is to listen. As people who are elected, it's our job to be open-minded and receive feedback and take that and discuss it. And, the public is trusting us with their tax dollars, with their children, with the future of our workforce, really. So working together with other board members, I think challenging, our own bias, different ideas, but really listening, I think, is the number one thing, learning as much as we can, and then really leading us into discussions together that is going to move us forward.
Thanks, Jade. Last to you, Deb.
Right. Well, a lot of things have been said that I would agree with. I think, first of all, we have to remember that the board gives direction, sets policy, sets budget parameters. The day-to-day administration at the buildings is really up to those building principals. And we have fabulous principals, I believe, at all of our schools. I've had the opportunity to be in some of the classrooms at each of those schools, and that gives you an opportunity to see what those administrators are doing. But as a board member, we definitely need to listen to the community, listen to our constituents who contact us, and respond. And sometimes the response might take a while because I would pass that on to the appropriate chain of command, or I would encourage that individual to follow the chain of command. And that means starting with the building principal or the teachers at that school. And so responsiveness is important, listening is important, communicating is important, but budget, policy, and direction are the three things that I think a board really is responsible for the district.
Thanks, everyone. As we move to the next question, our first respondent will be Kelly. And Kelly, the next question is, how would you intend to work with administrators and teachers in the district?
Sure. And I'll just maybe give some examples of ways that I have. I served on the teams of teachers and just really enjoyed having a lot of feedback. We have really talented teachers with great ideas. They're going through a lot right now. It's been a really tough year. And so I think my role would just really be to listen and support them. And have their voice be able to be a component of our decision making. And then the same with administrators, just being able to support them. Like Deb said, though, the role of the board is really to stay at that upper level. So getting involved in their day-to-day classroom work is none of my business, unless there are, issues of things that are going on that we need to address that are systemic for the district. So I am a proven collaborator. I love bringing people to the table and building bridges, and that's what I would continue to plan to do.
Thanks, Kelly. And next to you, Jade, same question. How would you work with administrators and teachers in the district?
Yeah, I would echo what Kelly said as well. I mean, the school board isn't there to disrupt the day-to-day flow of the school district. But what I will say is, having been in business for the last 13 years and have been a manager for the last 8 of those, with 10 people who work for me, it's a constant, meeting my employees' needs against meeting my clients' needs and bringing that all together. So I feel like I have a lot of experience in working with the needs of different groups of people, listening, and then compromising so that everybody's goals are being moved forward. So again, like Kelly said, it's really not the job to interfere in the day-to-day, but through what I do every single day, I feel like, working with people is what I do. Thank you.
Thanks. Deb, to you.
Sure. Well, working with teachers and administrators has been part of my role as a teacher and as a teacher educator. But I think all of us can provide support for our teachers and our administrators, thanking them. I tried to send some emails and thanking them after the first few weeks of school because I knew what of a struggle it was with COVID and getting the school year off to a good start. One of the things, I was chair of the board this year, and one of the things I implemented was at the first day of school, we had a school board member present at each school to welcome the teachers and welcome the students. And I thought that was a great way to show our support for the teachers and the administrators. Other than that, I think you have to listen. You have to be available to them. A lot of them attend our school board meetings, And so it gives you an opportunity to visit with them. And we have reports from them at each of our meetings too, which helps us to know what's going on with them. But I think just showing our support in any way you can.
Thanks, Deb. Jackie?
I really echo all three of these ladies saying that it's not us to get involved in the day-to-day, but I also feel the same way that Deb does. It's been very interesting and hard for teachers and administrators this year, and really listening to them I think is very important, because they might have an idea that we didn't think of. They're in it day to day. They know what's going on, and they know how their students are reacting to certain things. So, definitely to listen and to support, any ideas or goals that they may have that we can help with as much as possible, as they are the lifeblood of our schools and our district. And, they're the ones that are there every day. So really listening them, supporting, doing as much as we can to help them if they need it. But, just the day-to-day stuff is up to them, and they're the ones that know what to do. So I think that's the best option.
Thanks, Jackie. This next question, several of you alluded to. We're gonna start responses with Jade. The school district, is discussing facilities, and I'm wondering how you individually would move forward as a member of the school board to ensure equality in facilities so that children have the same experiences regardless of which building they're enrolled in, and what your thoughts are related to the facilities planning that's going on right now. So Jade, we'll start with you.
Well, to be honest, I have a lot to learn about the upcoming building projects. I think the school board is doing the right thing by hiring professionals to come in and assess and then present different ideas to the board. I think that's, the board isn't made up of people who are professionals in that area. So to hire that out and bring that back and really discuss it where you have all the facts and from professionals who do this every day is, I think, the right move. I have been blown away by the schools, the different learning environments that my kids have access to at Dakota Prairie. And I would hope that, every child has the same opportunity to learn in those different ways. Of course, like I've mentioned, as myself having a child with unique learning needs, I definitely see that is an important element of every building. So I look forward to seeing those discussions continue to happen.
Thanks, Jade. To you, Deb.
Okay, yeah, it's going to take a lot of work to put together our plans for these facilities. And yes, we have to have architects and professionals involved, but we also want to involve the community, have community forums where we hear what the community members would like to have, and from parents and students, what would they like to have in these facilities. I think that's important as well. So it's going to be quite of a long process. I think one of the most disheartening things is some of the things that need to be done, like, okay, we might need a new boiler. That's not very exciting to say we're going to spend all these dollars on a new boiler or whatever, but it's a necessary part of that revitalization of those buildings. And so that's what I find hard for the public sometimes to understand, is all of the kind of behind the scenes kinds of things that have to be taken care of that really have a big price tag, but really don't do too much in terms of what the visibility. So involving community, involving teachers and students in planning, as well as all the things that have to be done to make sure that everything's up to date at both buildings that we still are working on.
Thanks, Deb. And on to you, Jackie.
I echo both of these ladies for sure. With the facilities, we have awesome schools within our district right now, and I really think that we need to keep that up to a certain level. And bringing people in to help with that, like we said, bringing some architects in, bringing some people in to help us with that. We may not know how much that's going to change in the next year, and we need to be able to let our community know what we plan on doing, so they have an idea. Like Deb said, if it is a boiler, they need to know that that's what's going in the school is a boiler, or it's a new air conditioner. It's something that, they might not see the students using that every day. It's just something that has to be done, and we need to keep those facilities up to date for our students and our learners. So, that's definitely something with our facilities that is going to be a future. I mean, we always have something that, just like when you own a house, you always have to fix something. So with the schools, we're always going to have to keep those up to date. So I really think that that's something that they're doing on the right track for right now.
Thanks, Jackie. Last but not least, Kelly.
Sure. Yeah, I live in the Hillcrest neighborhood. I walk Stella to school every day. I care about the school and the neighborhood immensely around Hillcrest, and I am a huge proponent of neighborhood schools. I believe that's just how we create community around those spaces. So I'm committed to having spaces that allow our children to thrive. And Stella adores Hillcrest, and I taught at Central in the last 2 years of Central. So I'm practical in the fact that I know learning happens anywhere and everywhere, and we've proven that this last year. And so we can be practical with these spaces and provide equitable experiences. Hillcrest isn't, I don't know if it's going to be, but the current building won't ever look like Dakota Prairie because it's Hillcrest, and people have loyalty and love and legacy for that, and people felt that for the Central building as well. And so I think it just takes deep critical thinking about our spaces and where people think and how people learn. And I also, from my teaching background, I believe space is an additional teacher. And so how can we think about space in that way?
Thanks, Kelly. This next question will start with Deb. Where do you anticipate having the greatest challenges as a member of the school board in the coming year or three-ish? Tell us why.
Well, right now, the most immediate concern for me is returning to school next fall. I'm really concerned about our students in terms of their academic progress. What kinds of things have we seen that maybe show a slowdown? What are we going to do to support that? And we've already started talking about that. Are we going to have tutors or individuals that would come in to help? But then I'm on the mental health coalition. I'm worried about the mental health side, the social and emotional side. Some of our kids have been isolated and away from their friends. Some of our kids have had a parent who lost a job, who's created hardships for their family. So that's what I think the big focus is right now. As we're starting to talk about it, we're going to probably have to spend a lot of the summer working on a back to school or a return to school plan. We haven't come up with a title for it yet, but I think that's an important role that we're going to play. And that's the most immediate concern. And I think that's the one we have to take care of first and foremost.
Thanks, Deb. Same question to you, Jackie. Where do you anticipate having the greatest challenge as a member of the school board in the coming year?
I agree that we need to make sure, that we do get our kids back to school and we get them back to school safely, and that we provide the education that they need. We have lost quite a few students throughout this whole process, and we need to make sure that when those students return, that they are up to date and that they are where they need to be. So if we need to bring in some tutors or we need to do something different to, help those students, especially like you said, with mental health, that's our biggest priority right now, is to make sure that our students are back to school and they're where they need to be academically, and how we can help them with that. I also feel that, there's so many things going on right now within our communities, and, keeping our kids in school is really important too. So once they come back, I plan to keep them there, as that's an ever-changing thing every day. So, and masks and all that kind of thing. So I think those are going to be things that we're going to have to consider right away.
Thanks, Jackie. Same question to you, Kelly.
Yeah, I really believe what these ladies said. I'm really worried about mental health of our students and our staff, and just diving in and digging into that, as well as the academic slides and the social emotional piece. And so, yeah, what problems are playing out in real time, and then how do we do that? I'm going to add one more thing I think about a lot, and that is, how are we prepared for early learning in Brookings, and how are we as a school board advocating for 0 to 5 early learning opportunities? And I think we might see some things come down the pike from federal administration about early learning, and we need to be prepared for that. If we are needing to start providing those opportunities, the board hasn't looked at anything in that realm that I know about at this point, and I think it's something we need to be proactively looking at.
My unmute was farther away than my cursor thought it was. Last but not least, Jade.
Yeah, you know, when you asked before what the top 3 priorities would be, mental health and getting back to the classroom is one of my very top priorities. Mental health is near and dear to my heart. I have a child who's bipolar. And so I really saw when we were homeschooling how that affected my daughter. I mean, children learn through socialization, they learn through play, they learn through interaction. So that's just as important to me as the academic learning that happens in the classroom. And I'm a huge advocate for, you know, those unique interactions that kids need in order to thrive. So yes, getting back into the classroom and having those, you know, those older learners meet their full potential. I mean, I'm concerned about the time they're spending outside of the classroom and what they're doing. And are they just meeting the bare minimums, or are they continuing to be challenged? And so how do we continue to thrive in this, you know, semi-virtual learning world?
Thanks, Jade. The next question, we're going to start with Jackie. And a few of you have alluded to this with the reduced enrollment in the last year. The financial position of the Brookings School District is in a very different position than it was a year or 2 years ago. Can you please explain your understanding of the current financial position of the Brookings School District, and how might you help?
To be honest, I really have been doing more and more research on this to find out, you know, what kind of things we have received. There's been so much, you know, are we getting grants for this? Are we getting money from, you know, different things to help with certain aspects of our education? But I really feel that I could learn a lot more about it. I've been listening to the meetings and hoping that, you know, to hear that. But as of right now, I really think that, I mean, just learning more about it, and that's probably a good idea. So.
Thanks, Jackie. We'll move on to Kelly.
Sure. So my position now at SDSU is about how to strategically invest donor dollars so they're utilized the best way possible. My understanding of the Brookings budget is it's $51 million. We really need to be making really thoughtful decisions about what's going on. We have about, I think, and Deb can clarify exact number, $800,000 unplanned for loss this year. That's going to be a lot of decisions to make about that. And so that's due to, we thought we were going to have 65 more students, and we lost 22 students. So we had a big slide there. And that state aid for those students is a big deal. It's a $12 million component of the budget. And so just thinking about how to you know, strategically invest those dollars and make sure people, their students have what they need to carry on.
Thanks, Kelly. Next up, Jade.
Well, when I spoke about communication before, I think this is one of the areas that the board could do a better job of communicating is, you know, what they have for a budget, how that's being spent. I don't think that the average person in the community really understands how those dollars are being spent and where they come from and the different buckets of money and how those are allocated. So I think it's important just to build some more education and awareness and transparency and work on that. I also think that if we create a very positive environment at the Brookings School District, we will see some of those kids come back to the district. I think people were a little bit apprehensive of coming just with some of the early talks of how we were going to be coming back to the classroom. And so I think if we just, obviously we've proven that it's been a very positive experience this year. So I think if we just continue that messaging, we'll gain some students back. And I think it's important that we continually accurately project those enrollment numbers too, to make sure that we have our budget on track.
Thanks, Jade. Last to you, Deb.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I've learned a lot about, because that was not my strength coming onto the board, is knowing a lot about the budget. But we have two people on our board that have a strong background in finances, and they've really helped to educate me. I've met with them one-on-one so that they can help me out with some of these challenges. But Kelly's right. We lost some funding. We're not quite 800,000, but it was in that area. And we're hoping, sounds like we're going to get some of that back even from the state legislature, because school districts of the larger school districts advocated for that because they were the ones that lost students. It wasn't the smaller district. The smaller district sometimes gained because parents wanted their kids in a smaller district. It was easier to social distance, that kind of thing. So the budget was presented, I think it was in January, and everything was spelled out as far as how it's going to be divided out in terms of the capital outlay, the general fund. We're trying not to rely on capital outlay to supplement the general fund so that we have some of that funding available for building. But it is something that it's a continual learning process about the budget and where money is being spent. And so I encourage people to look at it on the board minutes and agenda.
Thanks, Deb. This next set of questions is about leadership. And so we'll start with Kelly, I believe, on this question. What are some of the key leadership qualities or attributes necessary to be a successful board member?
Well, listening. Obviously, I think we've alluded to that as a group, and just making sure we listen to those stakeholders. And then I think I feel like I'm brave enough to ask tough questions at the board table. And I'm not embarrassed about that. And so I feel strong that I can do that. And when there are those tough questions and wanting to have board discussion and open communication, that I'm a leader that will bring those components up. I think I'm approachable. And so with having kids at the school, you run into people all the time. You know, you're at activities and drop-offs and all those things happening. And so I think being approachable too. So yeah, listening, being strong and able to ask questions, and then being approachable.
Thanks, Kelly. We'll move to you, Jade.
Yeah, really, like Kelly said, listening is very important. You know, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So it's important to make sure we're listening and gathering feedback, and sometimes just being proactive about that too. Some people are intimidated to approach different people. So making yourself accessible, I think, is really important as well. I also think teamwork and collaborating with your peers is important. And, you know, like I said before, being a business owner, that's what I do every day, is work with other business owners and my employees to be successful. So, you know, just as one board member, there's a whole team that you need to work with and lean on their experiences and their wisdom to create some, you know, to make good decisions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. To you, Deb.
Okay. I agree. Listening is the most important. I think listening to the teachers, to the students, to the learners, to parents, to people in our community, and then responding. If people ask you a question, I try to get back to everybody. If there's an email or if there's a phone call, responding to them and giving them the opportunity to share their concerns. Caring about kids, caring about teachers. I just think that's so important. And being an advocate for both our teachers and our learners. That's a part of our role as leaders. And just, I try to be positive in my leadership role, being someone that really points out the great things we're doing in the Brookings School District, while at the same time working on those things and those areas where we need to improve. So those would be the areas that I think are really important in your leadership role on the school board.
And finally, to Jackie.
I agree with all these ladies that listening is very important as a leader. If you're not listening to your constituents or to your teachers or your administrators, then we're not doing our job, as we need to, bring those things in. That's what leaders do. They help everybody that they can. They listen to everybody they can, and then they make those tough decisions sometimes that need to be made. And again, I would be willing to do that. There are some decisions, and there's a lot of discussion that happens with some of those decisions, and we need to have both sides of those. And I think by listening and supporting everybody, we're going to have those right decisions to make. And also listening to the board and being, this person might have some more information than me on this, and, helping that way too. Because, like Deb said, there's 2 on the board that really deal with finances. And so if something comes up, I might, email them and say, hey, I have a question about this that I don't know. But as a leader, that's something that you would need to do, is make sure that you have the right information to share and that you're able to get that information if needed. So yeah, definitely important to listen and support.
Thanks so much, Jackie. The next question, Deb alluded to a little bit, the idea of elected officials in the role of school board are educational advocates. You represent a constituency, and you probably have people who you lean on for advice. As the voice for a lot of people, tell us about those people. We get to start with Jade.
So what I've been doing, I alluded to earlier, just on the campaign trail, is I've been reaching out to people who I know in this community who have lived here for forever. And I've been asking questions about, the facilities and what that looks like and what would be best for the community. I have several friends who are teachers. I talk to them quite often and learn about, what they're frustrated with or what they like. I'm a really engaged parent, and I love hearing from my friends who have kids in the different schools. So just taking that all together, I think, as an educational advocate, you're not just an advocate for the educators or the learners. They're all pieces of the puzzle that come together. Like Kelly said earlier, a holistic approach. So taking it upon yourself to really lean on some of the people, that have lived here forever. And an architect from Sioux Falls isn't going to know some of the history of some of these locations. But certainly other people who have kids in the district and who are teaching in the district have been great to visit with. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. Next to you, Deb. Tell us about your constituents.
Sure. Well, I also reach out to my friends that have students in the district, and I visit with them, have coffee with them, try to find out some of the things that are of concern to them. Since I said I was a mentor at the school, I do go to the school to meet with my mentee, and I love listening to him, what's going on at school, what's good about school, listening to the teachers and the administrators share what they do. One of the things that happens at every board meeting, which is the most enjoyable part of every board meeting, are presentations from students and teachers of things that are happening in the school district. And that's one way you learn so much from the constituents as far as what's going on in that school and what are they doing. And then I think I listen to people too that don't have kids in the school district, and what are their concerns, because they're taxpayers and they're contributing, and they're also concerned about the education of our youth and where things are going. So I try to listen to everyone and make contacts with anyone that can help me in my role.
Thanks, Deb. Jackie?
I would agree that, I have been out and I have had lots of people come up to me and start asking me questions as they know I was running for school board. And, definitely getting the information from them is something I might not see as a parent in the school district, or as, working with children. They might have a different aspect than I do that I didn't see. So definitely, listening to them and trying to work with them and help them. Our constituents are very important. So we need to make sure that they can ask those questions and that we have the correct answers to give them, and doing the research on those answers to give them. There's so many things going on with our children right now and with the schools and the school districts, that really listening to them and their input is great, because it affects them in so many ways. And, we might not realize those ways until they come up and talk to us or have a conversation with us. So I really feel it's important that we listen to them as much as possible. And we also, say, here's my opinion on it, and, maybe work something out.
Thanks, Jackie. Next to Kelly.
Sure, I'm going to use people's names, so hopefully they're not mad at me after this, but I just have developed this great group of people that care about kids so much, like I do. And so I've collaborated with Kate Schreiber at the Children's Museum a ton, and just working about how we think about play and space and children. Tim Lease was my colleague, and he's the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club. And Tim and I taught together at Camelot. I really love the work the club is doing and want to hear about students there. SDSU has an amazing team that are training future teachers and doing research on school, and I'm connected there to lean on those people and thought leaders that are on the field. Obviously, my former teacher colleagues, especially those I taught with at Central, we had this great group of women that just laughed and cried and loved everything about education. Oh, but my husband's a school superintendent in Castlewood, South Dakota. I guess I should probably mention him. He's a wonderful wealth of knowledge of a small school. He's been a really strong leader this year, and I'm honored to have him at my house as well.
Thanks, Kelly.
I miss some people, so sorry.
I think we are getting close to our last, kind of the end of our time this evening. So this will be the last question. We'll start with Deb. How will you know if you've been successful as a school board member? What do you consider as measures of success in this role?
Well, I can start with one thing with COVID this year, being able to sleep at night. That was my first measure of success, because I was so concerned when we were trying to make decisions about the safety of our students. And when we finally said, everyone, this is what we're going to do, I felt comfortable and I was able to sleep at night, because I really did lose some sleep about that one. But I think a measure of success is just looking back on what accomplishments that you've had. Also hearing from our constituents that what we're doing is putting our school district at a position where we are one of the best districts in the state, because I believe we are, and I believe we can continue in that role. So just positioning ourselves so that we do have that visibility as one of the strongest and best school districts in our state. And I'm just proud to be a part of that, a small part of that. So I think it's hard to measure that, but I think those are the kinds of things that I would look toward.
Thanks, Deb. Jackie, you're next.
I would definitely say a measure would be, how do you feel at the end of the day? Like Deb said, she wanted to be able to sleep. Well, we want to make sure that our kids are safe and that we are providing the best education that we can for them, whatever that way may be. They have dealt with that so much in this last year. And I think the measurement to us is that our kids got to stay in school when so many states around the United States did not. And that's a huge, huge measurement to our current board members, that they kept our kids in school, and they had so many hard decisions to make. And, they were trying to listen to different ways to do it. And I think they made great decisions. So I think at the end of the day, really, are our students safe? Are we providing for them the best way that we know how? And, really just saying, yeah, I did that. Our students are still in school and we're still providing an education to them. And we are able to do that as a school district, and also trying to keep our students here within the district too. So definitely a measurement at the end of the day was, how do you feel about it?
Thanks, Jackie. Kelly, to you.
Sure. A measurement for me would be that I took the time to develop a system of listening to children's voices on the board. A real system that's put into place that has a voice of children from all the schools and advisement from them. I really believe that they are full of knowledge, and sometimes the adults were the ones messing it up. And so how can we really turn around and listen to child's voice? So a measurement of success for me will be that we do that really intentionally.
Thanks, Kelly. And last but not least, Jade.
I think the way I measure success in my everyday life currently is the effort I put forth. I mean, if I know I showed up and I did my best, that's what's important to me. Like Deb said, it's hard to measure it, especially in on a day-to-day basis. But really, did you show up? Did you challenge your own thinking? Did you go beyond just what was put in front of you? Did you seek out additional resources and knowledge that enhanced what your initial thought process was? I think that's always important to get the feedback of others. And when you put that effort forth of just that next step, that's really important to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. And with that, we're going to begin with our closing remarks, and we'll start with Jackie first. Each of these closing remarks will be 60 seconds.
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming on and listening to us today, as you know, and asking some really great questions. These questions are things that, you know, people are in our community are concerned about, and you know, they want to hear from us and what our plan is. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate the, you know, Chamber for putting this on and for doing it in a way that may not be the way that is normal, but you know, we want to do it, and we still want everybody to be able to hear our voices. So really appreciate that. I appreciate the support, and I appreciate everybody who has asked questions and kind of come up to me and said, you know, hey, you're running, you know, I think that's awesome. So I really appreciate that, and I would like to thank Angie too for helping us out today.
Thanks, Jackie. Kelly, you're up next.
I have so much more to say. I need more than 60 seconds. No, I'm kidding. No, I just really believe that there is no better investment of my time right now than helping children in our community thrive. And because I believe when our children thrive, we all thrive, and that really elevates and lifts all of us. And so I really am looking forward to and hopeful for investing my time in that work. And so just thanks for doing this, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Kelly. Jade?
When I graduated from Brookings High School and went to college, I didn't realize how good of an education I had gotten in Brookings. And until I went to college and started interacting with my collegiate peers, and I really realized how great of an education that I got in Brookings, and I'm excited to continue that tradition. I have kids in the district, as you can see. And so I have a vested interest in making sure that they have every opportunity available to them, and their peers do as well. And I'm really excited to see where Brookings is going. And I think we've got a great slate of candidates here. So I congratulate each and every one of you. And I look forward to continuing to learn, just as a citizen, continuing to learn about what the district is doing and how I can be more engaged. Thank you.
And Deb.
Well, I want to thank everyone too for sending in questions and for joining us tonight, and thank all the candidates. It shows the support that we have for the Brookings School District in our community. I believe that education is an equalizer. And so I want to see the best education possible for all students in our district, because the students that we are teaching, the students that we are working with, are the future. And they're not just the future of our community, they're the future of our state and of our nation. But we as adults are the guardians of that future. And what can we do to support them and provide them with the best education possible so that they're ready for college or post-secondary education, they're ready for a job or going into the military if they choose to do that, and they're ready for life. And they're ready to be informed citizens that will become a productive member of our community and the workforce in our community. So we as adults play a huge role in supporting, advocating for youth, and being the guardians of their future. So I hope everyone goes out and votes. Election is April 13th, but I think you can start early. So we appreciate the support that we've received in the community, and I hope that all of you take the time to vote.
Thanks so much, ladies. And thank you for all of you at home watching and engaging in the election process tonight. If you have additional questions for the candidates, I would certainly encourage you to reach out to get more information on these topics and many more. Kelsey, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been a wonderful hour together, and we appreciate you taking the time during your evening. Jade, I love your little helper that came in last minute. I am a little bit thinking that was queued up, but that's okay. I love adorable little braids. So thank you all for engaging in the election process tonight. If you do have those additional questions for candidates, like Angie said, reach out to them. Again, we want to thank our sponsors, the Carrot Seed Kitchen Company, Bankstar Financial, and SDSU Division of Research and Economic Development. Those two are our forum sponsors for this evening. Our chamber works to connect, promote, enrich, and advocate for the Brookings area businesses and organizations. Evenings like these are a great way with that. We're able to do so, and we want to thank our 544 members for their continued investment in us. Our next candidate forum will be Saturday, April 3rd at 9:30 a.m. We will have Andy Foberg serving as our moderator, and you can register for that on the chamber website. We will also try to put it out on Facebook Live as well. This forum was recorded, so within the next 24, maybe 48 hours, we will get this uploaded to YouTube. So feel free to go take a rewatch or head over to the Facebook page, because I think it was successful the whole way through. Small successes. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful Thursday evening and a beautiful weekend. We'll see you all soon.